Father, and good morning. Over the life of this parish, many of you and those that have gone before us have generously given and sacrificed time, talent, and resources to build this beautiful church, to maintain it, and to serve in the hundreds of ways that keep our parish going, as teachers, as lectors, as ministers of all sorts, as helpers, supporters, cooks, coaches, gardeners, and facilitators. This helps us carry out our collective call as members of the body of Christ. You have put your creativity, money, talent, and love into this church and God's people. And thank you for all that you do and have done in deeds and prayer. St. Francis Parish provides so much to this faith community beyond the basic expenses that are required to just maintain the physical plant of this church and grounds, our overhead cost. Your weekly offerings are used to catechize children pre-K through 12th grade. They support adult faith formation. They support the rite of Christian initiation for adults. Small church communities. St. Francis supports our school at St. Anthony. And there are a myriad of social concerns and outreach that we do that are probably unseen by most people in our parish, like our food pantry, our daily bread, Agape, Christ in Christmas, which is coming up soon, and much more. Your weekly gifts sustain and grow these ministries and fuel this beautiful and vibrant church community that you are a part of. So there's no overstating how challenging 2020 has been for each of us and our church. But some wonderful things have happened. We're live streaming this Mass right now. When the pandemic hit, some volunteers that are techies jumped in and figured out a way to provide and bring Mass to you during the shutdown. And it continues today and has become essential for people that are at home, that are ill, that are fragile, and can't be with us in person. Ministries like Vacation Bible School, religious education, the adult faith groups, all the Bible studies that we have going on, started adapting and using technology, and were forced into it by the pandemic. In this time of separation, we found a deeper appreciation for the Eucharist because we missed it. This was a different Easter, and the other sacraments. And today, there is a deep longing for our people to come back together. So while 2020 has been a time of sacrifice and learning, it is a very exciting time in the history of our church and this growing parish. There are new ways of evangelizing, being in community of believers and ministering to others, and different ways of doing that have emerged. But as you would expect, our finances have been especially challenging this year. Major fundraisers like Cajun Fest had to be adapted online, and Taste of St. Francis, another major fundraiser, had to be canceled. And weekly collections are down. Some of that is due in part to people not being here physically, and some is in part to the way that the pandemic has impacted a lot of our families. So here we are at Stewardship Sunday, and it is a time for us to reflect beautifully like Father has, but for us to really respond and act on the call that God has for us in this place and this time. So in meditating on what to say to you today about stewardship in the midst of a pandemic, I just turned to our scriptures, and Father beautifully outlined what the scriptures are saying to us today. The parable of the talents that we've heard so many times before. The words that jump off the page to me are the words immediate, fear, and joy. The first servant responded immediately to the call of his master to trade his 5 talents and to make more. And the master commended him by saying, "Come and share my joy." The third servant explained that he buried his talent, and he told his master that he buried it in the ground out of fear instead of using it. We've heard this parable many times. I can relate to servant 3 in responding out of fear, and perhaps you can too. And for so long, fear was a driving force in making my own decisions about how much to give, how much time to spend, and frankly, even talking about my faith. And it's not the fear that you heard in the first reading from Proverbs or in the Psalms today, a healthy fear of God, which means knowing that God is God and we are not. It was a fear that was paralyzing for me, and a fear that we've all known this year in the pandemic, a fear that leads to procrastination, or I'll give more when I'm later in life when I have enough. So what changed for me? Really, it was watching you. Watching people in our parish that are so generous with their time and talent. They live generous lives, they give regularly, and there's a great joy in that. I finally came to hear and internalize what Father talked about and what our fathers often say to us, which is everything we have is a gift from God. You and I are parts of the body of Christ. Each of us is the church, and we do have a responsibility. Stewardship means caring for our church, for his people, caring for each other, and loving God. There is a great joy in giving financially, giving time, and offering prayers and sacrifices when you realize that it's all his to begin with. So hopefully this week you received a appeal for stewardship and an envelope. This is a week for us to spend time in prayer, in quiet prayer today, the Lord's Day in this week, and really reflect on what God is calling each of us to do. What is his will in our life today as we come upon this new liturgical year and we begin Advent and we flip over to a new and exciting year. Stewardship is a very personal decision, and only you can decide what's right for you. You know, we have 800 families in this parish, and 37% of them give regularly. What more could we do if 100% of our people heard the good news of Jesus Christ and cared for others and gave regularly through the weekly donations? It's really easy now because you can give online. There's a green button that you get in your weekly emails. I hope you're getting them. You can go to my parish app. You can go to the church website, and it's just like Venmo. You can give. This is the first year I did a bank draft, and I was fearful to do that because I thought, well, what if some months I don't have enough? But it's been the easiest thing that I've done here as a parishioner at St. Francis. This has been an exceptionally hard year for many of our parishioners. And those of you that have continued to give weekly, thank you. If you have already been giving, join me in taking another step in faith and increase your gift this year. If you've never given regularly, I invite you to know the great joy in giving. Start small if you need to, but the most important thing is to just start. The parish soft online giving makes it really easy. And finally, if you're not involved in a ministry here at St. Francis, get involved. God made you unique and wonderfully talented, and you don't realize all the ways that you can give to his church, to his people. There is a very special place for you in this community. So let us all respond to God's call for stewardship this year with an urgency like the first servant and not out of fear like the third servant. And let us know that we can all share in our Father's joy. Thank you.